Okay, in this video we are going to talk about specifically services and how the systemd are kind of management in Linux that manages the services. We'll actually be looking at that, okay, and we will also understand why we need to care about those services and the systemd as a hacker. So if you don't know, this is the ongoing part of manual enumeration of Linux for privilege escalation. If you want to check the previous video which we covered the user context, system related information and a bunch more, you can just go to the channel, check them out. Okay, now let's just get straight into that. Okay, so before I explain the systemd directly, let me give you an analogy so it will help you in understanding it more better and easily. So imagine you open a big hotel, and now in this hotel you need a lot of things that needs to be run in the background. Like for example, they have air conditioning for all of the room, the elevator, the kitchen, the security cameras, the Wi-Fi router, and a bunch of stuff, you name it. And the thing is, actually you don't go to each of this thing every single morning to start it to do its work. That would be insane. Instead, you have a building manager. Now the building manager's job is to make sure all of these systems are running automatically the moment the hotel opens. And if any of those things breaks, like for example, let's say the elevators just for some reason stop working, the building manager notices that the elevator has stopped working. What he do is he just try to restart it, and if it work good, and if it does not work, he just log out that what might went wrong, so the team can investigate it later and fix it up. Now let's just apply the same analogy to Linux. So when you open a Linux machine, what happens in the background, there are a bunch of programs that needs to be run in the background automatically so that they can perform their function, and it is required for the Linux to have them started. Like we can take example of a web server starting itself, a database, or an SSH server, and so on. And the thing is, the building manager is responsible to start all of these services. Not just start them, but monitor them, restart them, and if for some reason any of the service crash or stop work, they just write it in log and save it so they can investigate it later. And this is what exactly the systemd thing does. So in short, the systemd is the service manager of Linux. It just run in the background silently, managing the services in the background. I don't know if you heard the word services, I use it. The services it's actually a program running silently in the background. There is no window for that, or we cannot actually interact with that. It just runs silently in the background. We have these example of the services, a web server sitting there waiting for someone to visit a website, or this, or the SSH client waiting for someone to remotely connect to the SSH. And right here you can see none of these need a human to manually start them every time the machine reboots. The systemd just manages all of them, and it also makes sure to start all of them. Now if we go down over here, you can see the command. The systemd is the manager, we already know, and the systemctl is how you talk to that systemd manager that manages all of the services on Linux. And you can see the example. Think of it like sending a message to the building manager asking, hey, show me everything you are currently running. Meaning we use this systemctl to talk to the systemd to get the information about the processes running in the background on Linux system. Okay, so if we type the systemctl and the list unit and type this hyphen type is equal to service, it will list the all active and failed services. And then to only get the failed services that did not start for some reason, you will just type the stat equal to fail, and the rest is the same. And if you want to get the status of any service, you will just type the systemctl status and the service name. So what I'm gonna do now is I will just hop into my Kali Linux and just run these commands. Okay, let me open a terminal and let me just make it big. Okay, the first thing I will type is man and systemctl. This will just give me the manual of this specific command, or the client to talk to the systemd. So if I press enter, it will just give me a bunch of instructions like how I will be able to use this systemctl, and a bunch of flag and argument. You can see these are the flag or argument that we can use with the systemctl, but I'm just gonna stop this and run those commands that we just talked about. So it was systemctl and then list units hyphen type equal to service, and let's just see now. Okay, we got a bunch of services that are running. Let me make it small. Okay, so we type this command and we got this a bunch of services that are running. This is basically combination of the services that are active right now and also those that are failed for some reason. So we got the 5 column. Let me break it down for you to understand what these are. The first one, which is the unit, this is just the name of the services, and every services you can see ends with the dot service. Almost all of them just end with this. And then we have the load column. What this tells us that if the system MD or the service manager successfully loaded the specific services or no. By service loaded, I mean if the configuration of the services is successfully loaded by the MD, by the system MD or no. So almost all of them are successfully loaded. You can see right here. If for some reason the system MD cannot find any configuration of the services, it will just show over here not found instead of the loaded. It just means the configuration is missing of the service. And then we have the active column. What it just tell us about whether the specific service is active or inactive. Okay, and if we go to this column, what this is, it's like a more specific than this active one. So it just tell us the current state of each of the services. Is it right now running or exited? So if you see running, it just means the services is running and alive right now. And if you see for any services, that just mean exited, that just means the service just ran, finished what it needed to do, and then it gets stopped. And you can see right here, it just say over here, this is normal for services that just do a one task at boot, like setting up the keyboard service. So once it just set the keyboard services thing, the service just then stop and does not do anything. And the last one, which is the description, it just give us a human readable explanation of what each of the service does. Now, as I told you, this is the combination of active and failed services. What I will type, I will first of all type the clear and then systemctl and list units hyphen type service equal service, and then hyphen state is equal to either active or failed. So let's just type the active. We will see all of the services that are active right now. And if I clear this again, and instead of the active we will see the failed one, so for that I will type the state equal to failed. So here right now there is no any service that gets failed. Okay, so we can also check the status of a specific service. So to do so, first of all I will just see this, and for a specific service I'm just gonna choose this one, or let me just go with this one. Okay, I just copy the service name, and what I will do next is type the systemctl and type the status and status the service name. Okay, we got the information. You can see it's running right now and it's loaded as well, and we can also see the main id, the main process id, and it's the process name. This is the memory it's taking, and the CPU, and this is its binary path. Okay, so a bunch of information. You can do the same for all of the processes, like get the name of the service and then check the status using the systemctl. I think I should have explained the command before, but right now let me just explain it. I have just noticed this. So the systemctl is that client that just talk to the systemd. Okay, whenever you want to ask systemd anything or do something, you just use the systemctl. And then we have the list hyphen units. So a unit in systemd term, they are just anything that the systemd is managing. It could be services or the other stuff like this. So we use this to talk to the systemd, and then we use the list hyphen units to tell the systemd to give us everything you are managing right now. You can see everything it manages currently. And then we just type the hyphen type equal to service. This is just basically we are putting a filter to give us only the service related information. I think it's just over here. Yeah, this is where you filter it down, because if you run the systemctl list without this, you will get everything systemd manages. So when you use this, you only say I only want to say services, nothing else. So overall the command become, hey systemd, show me a list of everything you are managing. But when we type this, we add this filter, but only for services. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so we know what is the systemctl, and how we can find out the processes, the status of a specific process. Now the real question is, what actually do we look for? So first of all, we will be looking at the active services. Like if we will look for MySQL, this is there is database or the Apache server or this. These just run the web server. Okay, because you can see that here these are potential target. They might have some misconfiguration, outdated version or export port that we will then further look if we can exploit them or no. And not only we will look for the active service but also for the failed services. So we need to look for the service that are for some reason get failed. The reason we need to look for those failed services because whenever any of the service gets failed, the system D what it does, it just keep the record or keep the log of why the specific service gets failed, what happened to it, why it failed, and what was it trying to do, and what command it ran, and a bunch of information. And I don't know, but it just say over here in sometime that error output contains things like file path, credential, or configuration detail that tell you something useful. So over here you can see the example. Going back to the hotel analogy that we talk about in the start, if the elevator broke and the building manager write down in the log that elevator failed because the cable at room this just broken or something happened to it. So now you get the idea of where to look. For example, this service get failed and this is the exact thing because of this, and the location of it is this. So in Linux, I think it will be more like this is the service name, that will be its reason why it failed and might contain some credential, and this is the path of that service, I think so. And then we will also look for the service that are running as root, because our main focus is to get higher level privilege on the compromised Linux machine. So we will need to find out processes, and then we will look if the binary it is executing. If we can write there, it will just give us instant root access, And to see the services that are running as root, what you will need is, first of all, we will look for the services, the services name. Like for example, I'm just gonna go with this one or this one, let's say. Okay, I copy the service name, and what I'm gonna do next is let me type clear, and then I'm just gonna type systemctl and the status, and then this service name, which is this. Now we type this and we got a bunch of information like the main process ID and also the service name specifically, and we can see the process ID of this specific service and also its name. So we can just either use the process ID. I will just go with this process ID, and then we will use the process status to the PS and look for this specific process, like is it running as root or what other or someone else. So remember this ID, which is 572, and PSAUX. I will use the pipe command and then grep to only get the information about this specific 572 service. Let me put it in quotes 572, and it will only give me information related to this service. Okay, I use it as a string, so it just listed all of those processes that has the 572. So instead I will use the PS and the -p, which is -p is to specify a specific process ID. So I'm just gonna specify this 572 process. Okay, we did not get the user information. Let's just try the PUAUX again, and then the grep. Instead of the process ID, what I will do is go for the name of this. So let me copy this, and so I just copy this, and let's just now put this service name over here in quotes. Perfect. We do see a process with this ID, process ID, and it actually run as root. Now we will look later if we can really write in this path or no. If we can, it's good chance to get the root access. Okay, yeah, so to summarize, we will be looking for running processes like MySQL database or any custom app that might have potential vulnerability, and then we will look for the failed services, as I said, that sometimes contain leak information in the logs, and then we will look for the services that is root, and then look for if we have the permission to write in its binary or no. So hope you get this. If you have any question, let me know in the comments. I will make sure to answer it, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.